NBA load management is one of the most useless and annoying parts of the game. Imagine traveling like 3,000 miles to see your favorite NBA team coming from a different state to watch the NBA playoffs, and then Kawhi Leonard or Steph Curry are just sitting on the bench. Like, what do you do now? That just sucks. So the NBA just put out an official study that proves scientifically why load management is useless. So today I'm going to break this all down and give my opinions on it. So you know what? Let's just get straight into it. This 57-page report, which the league says was culled from data over the last decade from teams through the electronic medical record system, along with IQVIA's injury surveillance and analytics team, basically shows NBA teams why they don't need to rest healthy players for a game to help prevent future injuries. In fact, they say that playing them more just gets them more conditioned. Now, why is this? Well, I'll get more into that later, but the NBA's report says that players defined as star players have so far this decade missed an average of 23.9 games total per season, which is a huge amount. For context, John Morant at the start of the season missed 25 games. Yeah, that's a lot of games, and NBA stars just resting are missing the same amount of games. Now, in previous decades, this number isn't even close, which is why the concern around this is ticking up. For example, 2010, it was 17.5 games. In the 2000s, 13.9. And back in the 90s, only 10 games missed per season. Now, stars are any player who was an All-Star or All-NBA in the prior 3 seasons. So, yeah, it could be someone who got injured and is no longer good, but at the very same time, it could be someone like Joel Embiid, who's already missed 13 games this season. Of course, the NBA is doing a good amount to fight this. For example, the player participation policy states that a team cannot rest 2 or more star players per night. And of course, the NBA draft lottery reformed a few seasons ago to make tanking a lot harder and not guaranteed for the first overall pick, like it was in previous years. Then, now, there's also a new addition, which is the minimum number of games required to win an NBA award. An NBA award would be something like Rookie of the Year, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. Basically, you've got to play at least 65 games this season. Joel Embiid has already missed 13 games, which means he can only miss 4 more games this entire season if he wants to win MVP. And that really puts pressure on the Sixers to put him in, which is a good thing about the new PPP rule. And the fight against load management is getting only more and more aggressive over time. Because the Brooklyn Nets, about a month ago, as of recording this video, they played Mikal Bridges, Cam Thomas, and their other starters for 7 minutes. And after those 7 minutes, they subbed them all out for the rest of the game. This is a prime example of load management. And it's basically cheating the system so the NBA doesn't make them get in trouble. However, the NBA still fined the Brooklyn Nets $100,000 for this. And yeah, $100,000 is a lot. But the NBA also said that if they do this again, the game counts as an automatic loss, which is really scary for those teams who have been load managing those players, like the Los Angeles Clippers with Harden, Kawhi, and PG-13. But then, of course, there is a catch to all of this, and this is when the narrative really starts getting interesting. Players who are 35 or older can get an exception from the NBA from this rule, meaning that they can sit out as many nights as they want to. This means that someone like LeBron James or someone like Steph Curry can now theoretically take as many rest days as they want to, which is why LeBron actually filed for one earlier this season. And in Bronny's first game at USC, he sat out. He said that he was resting, but really he was at Bronny's game. And Steph Curry a few nights ago was also out resting. Now, since most of the NBA's best players are currently 35 or older, this is a bit worrying. But the NBA says that at that age, they should just be allowed to avoid the wear and tear of the regular season. Tell me what you guys think about that one, though. The other worrying thing about load management is that the teams actually have a point. Because all of the stars in the NBA are now very injury prone with the exception of a few. take KD, for example. He has torn his Achilles and his ACL. That is someone that you want to rest in the regular season so he doesn't get injured. So I'm going to be going through all the top 100 NBA players and saying whether they've been going through load management. And number one, you of course have Nikola Jokic. This is very surprising because the Nuggets haven't been resting him a lot recently. I mean, he is a great player, of course, and you would expect that the best player in the NBA would be rested more, but honestly, he's not. Then you have Joel Embiid. He's obviously being rested a ton, which is worrying for his MVP status. Giannis and Luka are both not rested often, but then at number 5, you have Steph Curry. Steph Curry is a human highlight, and he just has that clutch gene in him, but he's also in his 15th season and 35 years old. The Warriors have notoriously been resting him this season while they're looking for trade options. But someone who's not looking for trade options is the Boston Celtics. Their entire starting lineup, that is Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Al Horford, and Derek White, have barely been rested at all this season. And this reflects in the NBA standings, which is also another incentive for teams not to rest their best players. The Celtics just hit 30 wins this season, and they are head and shoulders above every other team, not counting the Bucks. Because the Bucks are pretty close, and they also don't rest their star players, like Dame and Giannis. On the other side of things, on the Western Conference, you have the Timberwolves, the Thunder, the Nuggets, and the Clippers. All 4 of these teams have been very, very good at playing their star players, whether that's Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert for the Timberwolves, whether that's Shea and Josh Giddey, yikes, for the Thunder, or Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, all of those guys for the Nuggets. All of those teams in the Western Conference have been very, very good at playing their players. Meanwhile, if you go down the standings, you have teams like the Lakers at outside the play-in tournament. And this is because they haven't been playing LeBron much. They haven't been playing AD much. NBA load management is getting out of hand, but it's also useless. As you all saw in this video, it's not scientifically backed, and honestly, it shouldn't even happen. Because NBA teams are just worse without their star players in, and it's not fun for the fans to watch. And the NBA honestly just cares about fans more than anything else, which is why they need to stop load management as soon as possible. Otherwise, the league is going to crumble. This was the foolproof why, and if you learned anything from this video, drop a like. I'll see you guys in the video popping up on screen, because it is a banger.